Rob, it is it grieves my soul to see any Christian who proceeds. I believe it's Proverbs, is it 18:13, that he who answers a question before hearing it is a fool. That how much the scriptures are proven by changing our paradigm to include a specially made flat earth biodome that was made specifically for us. The greatest really the greatest trick that say the greatest trick the devil ever had is convincing that he didn't exist. No, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing us that God doesn't exist. Because when you see how our existence is tailor-made for us, and how space is a lie, the millions and millions and millions of Earth-like planets are a lie. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. The circle of the earth. Its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a curtain. He spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. In our paradigm, in the new flat earth, intelligently designed paradigm, that is brilliant and spot on. In the evolutionary, heliocentric, globe earth, cosmic accident paradigm, it sounds ludicrous. So when Christians allow their normalcy bias to not, you said it, brother, you said Thomas wanted to put his fingers in the holes. Do you realize that everything that you've been told about space and star travel and about the way the earth is and about evolution has been fed to us? It is not empirical science. It does not use the scientific method. The scientific method tells us that we make observations. From those observations, we create an hypothesis. With that hypothesis, we begin to attempt to isolate the variables. If we can replicate the observation, then we can draw a conclusion without a prejudice and without a bias. Space, as has been handed to us, is not scientific. Evolution is not even remotely scientific. It's not testable, observable, repeatable. All the so-called facts we've been told about space. Hey, let's do this. The moon is, I want to pull these figures up, but I don't want to cause a delay. The moon is what, supposedly some 2,000 miles wide, and the sun is some, forgive me, I'm not getting these figures right, but it's supposedly some 800,000 miles wide. The moon is how far from us? The sun is like 96 million miles away from us. And yet, when their paths coincide, they perfectly fit into each other, as if they're exactly the same size.
Did you see the recent animation I just put up? I use a software called Stellarium. It's actually a heliocentric globe-based software. I mean, it's meant to work in that model. But I've been messing around with it because I wanted to see how the seasons work in the flat Earth model. Again, doing the scientific method. I come up with a hypothesis. I'm trying to test it. I'm trying to see it, how it works. And I messed around with it for probably 2 days until I figured out how I could depict what I was trying to see. And the conclusion, the way I did it was, because I was trying to deal with the issue of the long days, where the sun never really goes down in Antarctica. So I used the software. You could download the software for free. Set the location parameter to the 0 meridian and 90 degrees south, or whatever it is, basically the South Pole in the software. And the stereographic, I think, was the mode you could choose for viewing. And with the way the software works, you can look north, south, east, west, or you can change it in various ways so you can actually see north and east at the same time, or even zoom out a little bit, see, and I figured out how to zoom out and then basically flip the whole thing up like as if you could see north, south, east, west, every direction basically over you. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I hit the play button, which would animate I set the clock to January 1, 2015, and just set the play button to start everything moving, to start the sun and moon moving. So basically it's moving overhead. But from your view looking up, it's coming this way. So it's counterclockwise. So, and I got the whole year played out in like an hour. And I brought in the software, and I wanted to depict it superimposed over the flat Earth map. So I put the flat Earth map, and since it was moving counterclockwise, looking up, I just flipped it so that it's like you're looking down. And all I did was put it on top. I just superimposed it over the flat Earth map, and it shows you the sun and moon going in this orbit over the circular Earth and extending its orbit and contracting its orbit. And what really fascinated me is the software. I didn't manipulate it at all. It actually depicted this. It showed as the sun was moving in its outer circle, its outer circuit, it sped up, which it would naturally have to do to maintain a 24-hour day the same time as when it's in the inner part of the circle, it's going slower. And so to prove that, I put January and June up at the same time, showing the widest path circuit as compared to the inner circuit, and how it's sped up over here and slowed down over here. And I'm going, wow, here's this heliocentric globe-based software actually proving, at least in theory anyway, the seasons on the flat Earth map. And of course, you're talking about the sizes of this and the distances of the sun and moon, and the flat Earth map is completely different. But the biblical model says that it's the sun and moon that are moving, not the Earth. It's like 67 scriptures or something like that describing the sun, moon, and stars moving, 0 showing the Earth moving. So here, at least in my mind anyway, is some fairly convincing evidence, oddly enough, taken from heliocentric globe-based software.
And Scripture also says the moon is its own light.
Its own light.
Now, let me ask you, can you reflect light off of a ball and have it come down to you on the Earth the way the moon's light does?
Yeah, well,
no. A ball refracts light.
It's going to disperse it. But not only that, it's not bringing back the same light. It's a totally different.
Bingo, absolutely. There's some great sources on this. Samuel Robotham, that septic versus antiseptic light, that the moon's light, if you measure it, actually is cool, and the sun's light is warm. Yeah. The moon turns out it's 2,000 miles. I saw your videos, by the way. As soon as we hang up, I'll watch them. Your video on what's his name, Tyson, and bringing out the Jesuit is awesome. I love the bubble, the caption bubbles that you have. They can really, really well done. I highly recommend. I have posted it several times, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
The moon is supposedly 2,000 miles wide, and supposedly 238,000 miles from the Earth. The sun is supposedly 1 million kilometers wide and 96 million miles from the Earth. And yet they're both appear to be the exactly same size. Well, that's just an optical illusion. It just turns out that the sun is 400 times further from the Earth and also 400 times bigger than the moon. What a coincidence. Now, you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. At the bare minimum, the random chance possibility of that occurring is mathematically and statistically impossible. So at the bare minimum, that idea of the percentage of the sun and moon happen to be coinciding at different distances is proof of intelligent design. But at 96 million miles, Rob, are we supposed to believe that a slight tilt of 23 1/3 degrees is what produces the dramatic differences in seasons? Actually,
it's 23.4. When I looked this up on several official websites, and what really tripped me out on that is if you do 23.4 off of a center degree, 90 degree, 90 subtract 23.4, it just so happened to be 66.6 degrees off. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, to me, I'm like, if that's not evidence of a beast system.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And that's why I agree with you that uncovering this system, uncovering our paradigm, uncovering our matrix is critically important. I don't agree with someone who says, "Oh, that's too controversial. Why are you going there, Rob? You're going to make people, you're going to push people away." No, it is essential to pulling people out of the matrix. How much would people rise up and throw their chains off if they realized that they were living in a biodome, an ecodome that was specifically made by God for them, and that God was right there, like they've always been told, intimately involved in everything that was going on here, that they weren't. Oh my goodness! That what is the one of the two psychotic children at Columbine? Dylan had a shirt on that said "natural selection." Mm-hmm. So, based on the depth of this Luciferian matrix, you have, at the bare minimum, mass shootings, and honestly, most of these mass shootings are fabricated, and particularly Sandy Hook. Not a single child died of Sandy Hook, but Columbine, those kids really did die. And you have this paradigm. We have the robber barons on basing what they've done on evolution, on social evolution, that might makes right. And here we have the Jesuits at the heart of this black evil system. Georges Lemaitre, personal friend of Albert Einstein, created the stupidity of the Big Bang. The idea that at first there was nothing and then it exploded. Then we have Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who was the father of the New Age movement and a Jesuit priest. Teilhard de Chardin personally was involved with both the Peking and Piltdown Man hoaxes to create the so-called missing link to help further evolution. That's how vested the Jesuits are in evolution. They are Satanists. They are practitioners of Luciferian black magic. And they rule the world, and they created this paradigm. Nicholas Copernicus was a Vatican mathematician who took, Ptolemy's original, who's considered one of the first Freemasons, ideas on spinning globes. Just ask our audience this one question. At what magical point does a ball achieve so much mass that it attains this nebulous thing we call gravity? Because certainly we don't observe that in any natural phenomenon. At no point on the Earth can we create a ball big enough to have gravity where it actually pulls down water and materials. It actually pulls down a gnat or mosquito that cannot fly in, 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour of wind, and yet the Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. An aircraft, a civilian airliner, can only fly about 500 miles per hour, and yet can still reach its destination in either direction. What's going on here? The Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. We're supposedly traveling at 67,000 miles per hour within the solar system. 500,000 miles an hour in the Milky Way, and the Milky Way is moving at 670 million miles per hour. And yet not the slightest bit of parallax is observable in the stars. The stars are always where they need to be. The movement is completely predictable of the stars, and the polar star, the North Star, never moves. Where's all this movement going? We're told that, by the way, yeah, it really is moving like that. It's just that those stars are just so far away. It seems like they're not moving. You have to trust us. Mm-hmm. Trust all the Freemasons at NASA. Trust all the Freemasons that went to the moon. Trust that when a Freemason steps out of bounds, like poor Gus Grissom, we'll burn him alive.